Let's talk to James Price, who's here, former number 10 advisor, of course, and now political commentator. James, very good morning to you.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Yeah, what is this thing I see before me? Is it Donald Trump's new Defence Secretary, Keir Starmer? Donald Trump appears to be not only in charge of our foreign policy, but he's also in charge of our defence policy now as well.
On our way to becoming the 51st state, beating Canada and Greenland and whoever else to it as well. Well, what a pity it all is that it takes Donald Trump having to rattle the saber and scare all of us naughty Europeans in order to start to get our own house in order.
Yeah.
It started a few weeks ago where Vice President J.D. Vance touched down in Europe. He had a massive go at the French and the Europeans in general in France about their terror over the exciting prospects of AI and the fact that the EU boasts about being number one in safety regulation for AI in the world without actually having any AI.
Right.
And then he hopped over to the Munich Security Conference and said, right, what on earth are you guys doing? You're letting mass migration and huge censorship completely destroy your countries, and yet you're lecturing us and telling us to do more to defend your own continent when you're not doing it yourselves. Why is it that we as Brits and as Europeans, continentals, whatever, why is it that we are making the American taxpayer make it so that we're sleeping safe in our beds at night? It's absolutely outrageous, and it's right that Trump has called out our naughty PM to start doing the right thing finally.
Yeah, well, when he was standing in front of that podium yesterday talking about strength abroad and security at home and all that kind of thing, I was thinking to myself, well, hang on a minute, and I said this earlier, it's a bit like one of those old Roman fort type stories, you know, where the centurions all go out to fight a war, but by the time they've won the war, they come back, their fort has been occupied by foreign forces because they weren't there to protect them.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, this is the lunacy, right? Look, to put on the record, in case there are any idiots out there, not that they'll be watching this show at all. You know, we want.
Not allowed. No, we're not allowed idiots. Not allowed.
Not allowed. That, you know, it would be great for Ukraine to take all of its territory back. It would be great for there to be peace in Europe and for Ukraine to come out the victor, and we hate Putin. All these things are just obvious truisms, but we have to face the facts that if we're starting to send troops out to police a border with Russian forces, it's a dangerous world. And if we're going to do that, then they should be properly armed. They should be properly part of a coalition of other European forces. We should help Ukraine out principally so they can defend whatever they get left out of this, hopefully most of their territory. But if we're not defending our own borders as well, we're letting in literally tens of thousands of fighting age young men every single year into our country, and we're not doing anything about it. We're not saying they may be ISIS troops, because we know lots of these people are extremists. We're not saying whether they're compatible in any way with our culture, and we're hearing stories of these bogus asylum seekers now hanging around outside primary schools, for God's sake. Let's sort our own borders out. Let's get our own house in order, and then let's try and spread the goodwill and the better kind of culture and rules of law and things like that this country has historically been known for.
Yeah, absolutely right. And what about the accusation to Keir Starmer yesterday, which he clearly didn't enjoy, that he's Nigel Farage in disguise because he basically adopted reforms policies on defence?
It's a great way to have a pop at him, isn't it? And I think we're starting to hit some kind of inflection point where reform will start taking support from Labour votes as much, if not more, than from Tories. But I think that this is just the thing that's been frustrating about talking about politics the last years. It was certainly frustrating working in the heart of it for many years, and people watching the live stream can see the grey hairs I've got from doing that. What the British public want is mostly to be left alone, right? They want to raise their families, run their businesses, all that sort of stuff. They want a decent healthcare service. They want decent education. They don't want mass migration transforming their societies, and they love our armed forces. They love all those people who go out and keep us safe at night, whether it's the Special Forces, whether it's the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, the British Army, any of those things. And they've seen for decades those people come in and step in when everything else goes wrong, when there's flooding here, when there's horrors abroad. And yet they've also seen that a spaff money up the wall, frankly, and undeserving people on benefits who shouldn't be there, plenty should be, that's fine, spaffing it around the world to end, frankly, ending up in the pockets of dictators in developing countries rather than the world's poorest people, rather than keeping us safe here at home. And some people are seeing images of soldiers on the live stream now. Do you remember what happened in Iraq when we were sending these people into the most dangerous places on earth without the right kinds of kit, and yet at the same time wasting all that money at home, frittering away your tax?
Well, this is it. I mean, I was talking about the Red Caps who died in Iraq earlier on the show. You know, the 6 young men who were ambushed basically by Iraqi forces. And I got a message from one of their fathers, John, who says, Ray, your conversation with Ben Habib earlier, you mentioned the 6 Red Caps in Iraq 2003. I'm the father of one of those boys, and I'm still seeking justice for their murders. The government is doing absolutely nothing to ensure that the known murderers are arrested. And I mean, this is a tale that you hear all the time about military families who are not treated well. You've got, I think now, a tax raid on the spouses, or not the spouses, but the partners of people in the military who have died, but they're not married, and so they don't even get a pension. I mean, the way the military are treated in this country is absolutely disgraceful. And yet, you know, nothing from Starmer on improving those conditions.
No. Well, Starmer likes to cosplay every now and then, doesn't he? He pops up in the woods of Estonia or somewhere wearing a bit of camouflage.
Yeah.
If he's Action Man or something. I don't really think that many people in the modern Labour Party have the kind of affection for our armed forces that most of the British public. I think some do. I think, to be fair, John Healey, the Defence Secretary...
Actually, I mean, to be honest, Healey's one of the better cabinet ministers, I would say.
Yeah, in general, I think a few of them do. And I certainly think Labour voters, by and large, do. Maybe not the kind of loony, Hamas-supporting 18-year-olds with blue hair, but the vast majority of people do. So it just always baffles me why it is that defence always seems to come last. The first responsibility of government is supposed to be the defence of the realm, and we should be funding the defence of the realm pursuant to the kinds of threats that we actually face in the world, not the kinds of threats that the Treasury thinks we can afford to face, because we've been doing that for too long. And I'm afraid some of the accountancy voodoo that was going on yesterday, starting to just classify that the security services, those amazing people in MI5 and MI6 and whatever else, that those budgets will just count towards our defence budget now. Not extra money for that, but we'll just count towards it. And not even a denial yet that this surrender money to go to Mauritius, of all places, to give them our own sovereign territory in the Chagos Islands. No denial that that's not going to count towards this increase. This is completely mad. We should scrap all of this, start it all over again, work out what we need to defend this island, and then work out budgeting priorities thereafter for everything else.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely right, because that is the whole point of the defence of the realm, surely defence of our own actual land, our own territory, rather than somebody else's. James, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. James Price there, political commentator.